Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Welcome to sunny Southern California, Petco Park in San Diego to be exact, as the Cincinnati Reds continue their West Coast swing versus the Dodgers. Now the Padres, as the Reds take on the Padres, the first of three at Petco Park. Hi, hello, and welcome to San Diego, everyone. Along with the crafty left-hander Chris Welch and Jim Day, I'm George Rand. An exciting day here in San Diego and around baseball. It's the amateur draft. We'll have more on that. Big pick for the Reds. But around here, the big talk is home run power. And Chris, we've seen it all year long, but the Reds are very similar to the San Diego Padres when it comes to power.
Well, they spread the wealth. That's one thing you can say about these ball clubs when it comes to power. There's not just one guy in the lineup that's dominating from the power department. The Reds have 92 home runs overall. That leads the National League. But the way they do it, I think, is unique because it's a definition of a very deep lineup. A pitcher goes to sleep towards down the bottom of the lineup. All of a sudden, you see Devin Mesoraco take you deep. Or if you hang a breaking ball to Duvall, same thing happens there. And, of course, Schebler and Joey Votto are leading the league right now. They are really getting it done from the left side of the plate.
Pretty good company. The Padres, the Reds, and the Washington Nationals, all players with 4 players individually with more than 10 home runs. A lot of power in each of these clubs. And the other side of the picture, of course, is Bronson Arroyo. You know Bronson's story. He gives up a lot of home runs, usually one of the league leaders in that category. This year is no different, but he's had some success here.
Well, he has, but you got to remember that it's been a little bit more than 2 years since he's actually pitched against the Padres. But if you want to go back and look at all the numbers, you can do that, digest them. 5 of the last 6 games that Bronson Arroyo has pitched against the Padres have been real gems. Now, he's not pitched a gem yet this year for the Reds. He's had a couple of really good games where he's gone 6 innings and only given up 2 runs. But this just might be the night. The young ball club, very aggressive at the plate, trying to swing for the fences, and feeds into a better like Arroyo, changing speeds, dropping the curveball in there, teasing him a little bit. So if they come out aggressive, they may play right into Arroyo's hand.
Bronson, of course, is the oldest Red. Coming up next, when we continue here from San Diego, we'll head back to the studio to meet the youngest Red, the newest Red, Hunter Greene, drafted today by the Reds. That's next on Fox Sports Ohio. 19, Mr. Padre. His statue commemorates the great career he had here at the San Diego Padres. First at Jack Murphy Stadium and then later here at Petco Park. And we're ready to play baseball here as the Reds continue their West Coast swing, a 6-game swing. The Reds ready to take on the Padres after losing 3 straight to the Dodgers up in Los Angeles. And for Brian Price and his Redlegs, they hope to continue the heavy hitting and get some pitching to go along with it. There's Brian Price ready to take on his club as the Reds start play on this Monday. Milwaukee continues to lead the Central Division, and the Reds start the day 3 games back. And the San Diego Padres in the West are 16.5 games back already. Joey Votto is average now up to 300, and you see the look and the gaze up to the sky because the lights were on and just momentarily they flickered off, and now they're going back and forth. So Joey is surprised, as just about everybody else in the ballpark, to see the lights go off and on here at Petco Park. This is a new park here in downtown San Diego, Chris. So when you played here back in the 80s, you played at Jack Murphy Stadium, which was about 20 minutes outside the downtown area. This is just a picture-perfect setting.
Well, it's a great setting. Downtown has come a long way. Back in the day, George, they would build San Diego as the next great city. Well, it is a great city now with a great ballpark to play in. By the way, that I guess the strobe effect by the lights isn't totally intentional. They want to give an idea of a little rock concert feel here. I guess when you get LED lights for the first year, you might as well throw them off a little bit. And that's the way they feel here at Petco. And
changes in this park. For those of you that have followed the Padres over the last couple of years, they've lowered the fences and moved them in. So it's still a pitcher's park, but not nearly as difficult to hit home runs here as it was in the past. Let's check the starting lineup, sponsored by Menards, for Brian Price and the Cincinnati Reds. Billy Hamilton in a bit of a funk, stealing bases, trying to get on and get the Reds rolling in a 242 in the leadoff spot. Zach Cozart, who's taken over the leading spot in the All-Star balloting among shortstops. We'll have more on that coming up. Joey Votto, the average now back to an even 300, hits third. Adam Duvall, a little bit of a stomach bug the last few days. He said he's back and feeling much better. Eugenio Suarez hits behind him. Scott Schebler will be in the lineup with Peraza, Barnhart, and then Arroyo, who's got a hitting streak of his own on the mound. And on the mound for the San Diego Padres, a 24-year-old right-hander. Our Mazda pitching setup has you taking a look at Luis Perdomo. And Chris, this guy came as a Rule 5 draft pick last year. He's got a big body approach, and they expect a lot from him.
Well, prior to last year, he had never pitched above rookie ball level. So despite the fact that he has had really no experience at AA, no experience at AAA, and he came in and won 9 games for the Padres last year. Now he's winless so far this year. The Padres simply have not scored any runs for him at all. But he's a guy that gets off to normally a pretty good start, and then second, third time through the order, for some reason or another, he begins to give it up a little bit. Maybe that'll be the same trend here tonight.
Here's Billy, and as is usually the case, they'll pinch in the first baseman and the third baseman. Will Myers in on the grass at first, and Spangenberg in about 3 steps on the grass down at third. Strike one from the big right-hander. There's a bouncer towards second. So Larte has it, and Billy's retired. There's one away. Let's check your forward defensive alignment for the Padres. Padres are improved defensively, although this has been a catch-up lineup from start to finish all year long due to the injuries. But they've been in a funk defensively or late. 9 errors in their last 9 games. Perella, Cordero, Renfroe, great arm and right. Spangenberg, Cordova, the shortstop. So Larte and Myers, who remember was at one point in time the big draft pick of the Kansas City Royals, traded to Tampa Bay and now to San Diego, where he signed a big multi-year deal here. Behind the plate is Austin Hedges. Here's Zach Cozart, and Chris, what else can you say about number 2? He has done it all on the field, in the clubhouse, and look at the average, look at the numbers for Zach Cozart.
And he does that in a year, George, in which he's really not certain what's going to happen next year, especially as it relates to being with this ball club, the Reds.
Quickly disposed of by Perdomo. Strikeout number 1, out number 2, and here comes Joey.
Hard slider. He's got a 3-pitch combination, does Perdomo. Fastball, changeup, and slider, and Cozart got a taste of that little slider there.
Perdomo just turned 24 in the month of May, native of the Dominican Republic. acquired from Colorado during the winter meetings, not this past year, the year before.
Well, really, he was a guy that was drafted into Rule 5 by Colorado, then immediately purchased by the Padres. So it was a prearranged deal. Kind of the way that the Reds were able to pick up Josh Hamilton years ago, where you go to another team and say, hey, we're drafting lower than you, and we're afraid that by the time that we come around, our guy won't be there. Will you draft him, and then we'll make a deal for him? And that's what happened.
Fly ball down the left field line, curving into the seats about 4 rows deep. Talk about an overshift. Look at the way the Padres will defense Joey Votto. The left fielder Pirela is only about 25 feet from the line. The center fielder Cordero is in left center field.
Yeah, they're daring Joey Votto to hit the ball right up the middle. I mean, that's. And you would think that Votto, as good as he is, could almost do that at will. Well, one thing about hitting an opposite field here, the ball normally doesn't carry very well. Although watching batting practice today, you'd think something was up. It was really popping out of here.
Day games here, the ball will fly out a little bit more. Nighttime, during most of the year, especially through the month of June, there's that marine layer that comes in, a little dampness.
The June gloom.
The June gloom.
Although it was not too gloomy today.
No, it never is. It never is. 2 balls, 2 strikes to Votto. That's ball 3. We'll go full to the Reds' number 3 hitter.
So in a lot of ballparks, Joey can hit the ball opposite field. He's got plenty of power to go out of there. But I'm not so sure that, you know, throughout the course of a year here, that would be the best thing for him to do.
Line drive sinking. It will be dropped. Well, they had him played almost perfectly, but Pirela couldn't make the play, and Votto still beats the shift with a line drive. Not a fly ball. Fly ball and he'd be out. A line drive gets him a base hit.
I'll tell you, Votto just hits the ball so hard so often. I mean, this ball's got wicked spin on it. Pirela comes in to try to make the play and just doesn't get there soon enough.
The fact that it not hit his left leg, it would have gone to the wall, and Votto would have had 2 at least, and possibly 3. So the Reds get a 2-out base hit, and here's Adam Duvall in a .278, 15 homers and 47 knocked in. Big swing and a strike. We chronicled in the opening segment and how the Reds have put together some pretty good power numbers. Duvall 15 homers, Votto 18, Suarez 10, Schebler 18 homers, giving the Reds 4 pretty potent power dealers. And the Padres have had a similar story in the early going. These are 2 teams that, yes, are in a rebuilding mode. I guess you'd have to say, Chris, the Reds are a little bit ahead of the process than the Padres are right now.
Well, they've got more dedicated to their payroll too. The Padres don't have any players making anywhere near the kind of money that Joey Votto's making. So yeah, there's no doubt that the Reds are steps ahead, maybe 2 years ahead in the rebuilding. But the Padres have told their fans, hey, this is going to be not a rebuilding year, but a developmental year. They have 3 players on this roster that are Rule 5 draftees, not including the pitcher tonight, who was a former Rule 5 draftee a couple of years ago, as you said. So, you know, they're giving it to young guys. They're letting them play, seeing if they have some fun, and trying to see who can be a major leaguer down the road and who cannot.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Adam. Short lead for Votto down at first. They overshift to the left side against Duvall. I
mean, this is amazing overshift we're seeing of the Padres. I mean, first we saw the outfield shift against Joey Votto way over to left field. They are completely giving Adam Duvall the right side of the infield. I mean, just punch it right in there and you're going to get a base hit. Although, of course, the way that Duvall's been hitting home runs, he's probably swinging for the fences.
2 balls, 2 strikes. Breaking ball away, and we'll go full 3 and 2.
It's not like the Padres are playing him to pull and pitching him in.
No, breaking
they're
balls away.
Breaking balls away, and you know, daring the Reds hitters to go against a shift.
There's Andy Greene, the manager here. 2nd year as a manager, went to the University of Kentucky. Was an outstanding competitor, great ball player there. Minor league manager. There's a dribbler down to third. Double pump, throw in the dirt, not in time, and the Reds will have 2 on. Well, they defensed it perfectly with a shift for 2 plays, but neither the left fielder nor the third baseman could make a play, so the Reds have 2 on.
Well, Spangenberg comes in and cuts in front of the shortstop right here. Just couldn't get a grip on the baseball. At first it looked like he went into his glove to see, do I really have it? And then he couldn't get a grip, and when he finally did, hustling Duvall beats it out.
They're giving Adam Duvall a base hit on that one.
More bad luck for Perdomo. I mean, this is the big leagues, right?
Mm-hmm. That's one
is that
way
not
to.
A ground ball to the third baseman?
That's one way to make your defensive statistics look a little better.
Jeez. Hey, if you're Duvall, you'll take it.
Here's Suarez, 10 homers, 36 knocked in. The Padres against the Kansas City Royals this weekend lost 2 of 3. And more often than not, when the Padres have made defensive miscues in this last 2-week stretch, it's cost them. Kansas City most recently, and before that their road trip, they fell behind due to defensive lapses. Tied for most in the National League. 45 errors.
Yeah, they can't take their scorer on the road with them.
I can see you now as a Padre pitcher looking up at the.
They still owe me a
press
couple
box.
of earned
Yeah,
runs,
I got that. I
you.
remember those days. Of course, at Jack Murphy, you could just yell up there because there's nobody in the park. And Doc Matai would just tell you, well, sit down, will you?
Only those fans that were left over from the rock concerts that they had there when the Padres were out of town.
Jack Murphy Stadium. And now, I mean, that's where the Padres played and the Chargers played. Chargers leaving town. They will not have an NFL team here. 2 balls, 1 strike. On the outside corner for a strike, 2-2. Great chance to put a marker or 2 on the board early for the Reds. They battled back in Los Angeles and wound up losing twice late in ball games. Uncharacteristically, in a club that's had good bullpen play, the bullpen did not perform in Los Angeles.
Well, 3rd full count in a row now for Luis Perdomo. He went with a breaking ball last time against Duvall, got the ground ball to the third baseman that went as an infield hit.
After overshifting, they're now straight away with the 3-2 pitch coming. Runners going. That is ball 4. And the bases are loaded.
You know, all of a sudden this has turned into a long and laborious inning for Perdomo, the Padres starter, and with just a little bit of better defense, he would be out of here but easily. You know, the Votto ball, although hit hard, was catchable, misplayed out in the left field. Duvall's play certainly should have been made. So now Darren Balsley's going to come out and try to calm him down a little bit and say, hey, you need a strikeout right here.
Darren Balsley, longtime pitching coach here. He took over when Bruce Bochy was the manager. This is his 15th year as a pitching coach here in San Diego. And here's Schebler. Scott Schebler steps in with 18 homers. He's been one of the leaders in the league for the better part of the last month. And his first ever home run came here in San Diego. Was mentored early in his career by Mark McGwire, the hitting coach for the Padres, who then was a hitting coach with the Dodgers. McGwire and Schebler have remained close over all these years. In fact, Big Mac says he still has a picture of the first hit that Schebler had here in San Diego. Ball 1. Rocket through the middle. That'll score 1. Will it score 2? Rounding second, coming home will be Duvall, and a take advantage of it base hit by Schebler. So Schebler drills a base hit. The Reds have a 2-0 lead and are off and running for their faithful here in San Diego.
Well, he hits the ball very hard. Schebler does. Gets the ball up, out over the plate, and takes it right back through the box. Nearly undresses Perdomo in the process. Well, I'll tell you, when he barrels it up, it really has a special sound.
So Schebler, the beat continues. That's now 35 runs batted in for him. And that'll bring up Jose Peraza in at 262. A couple of homers and 20 knocked in. Suarez stopped at second, so it's first and second still with 2 away. All of this after 2 quick outs, a ground out and a strikeout. Breaking ball misses wide, and it's a ball and a strike. Padres come in 16.5 back and 16 games under 500, 24-40 on the season. Missing again. Hedges rolls through his signs for his right-hander. Hit hard, but caught by the shortstop Cordova. Let the Reds do some business. 2 singles, a walk, and a run scoring hit by Schebler. 2-0. The right center field wall, there's an area where fans can sit on the berm and watch the game. That's not a ticket. You can just sit, come down to the downtown area and watch the game. At home, you can watch this thanks to our Menard starting lineup for Andy Greene and the Padres. Pirela will lead it off. Cordero will bat in the number 2 pot. Will Myers will hit third. Myers at one point was over 300 on the year. He's been sinking now at 256. So Larte, Renfroe, Spangenberg, Cordoba, Hedges, and Perdomo. That's your Menard starting lineup. And here's Bronson.
Boy, is that ever a lineup you never heard of right there, huh? But Bronson, I mean, he started pitching against these Padres 17 years ago.
Wow.
In the year 2000, when he first pitched against the Padres, it was an outing in which he won that ball game 16-5.
Hit hard past the diving effort down at third by Suarez. Grounding first, going to second is Pirela, and he'll stop there with a leadoff double here in the first.
One thing about the Padres is that they are going to be very aggressive, really to a man. They don't work the count. They're not like playing an American League ball club. They're up there to swing the bat. And Arroyo starts it off with a ball that he kind of hangs up in the zone, and Pirela takes advantage.
So Pirela, good speed on at first. The Padres really don't have a bona fide leadoff hitter. They've been moving people all around the lineup due to injury and due to call-ups. Minor leaguers replacing minor leaguers. And here's Franchi Cordero. Cordero playing center today. Margot is the young center fielder who they had hoped would take over in center and maybe be the leadoff hitter, but he's been out with a calf injury. They hope to get him back sometime next month.
Cordero just made his major league debut about 3 weeks ago. He's only 22 years old. Padres signed him as a free agent out of Azua, Dominican Republic.
No balls, 2 strikes. Arroyo from the stretch.
I mean, just to figure where the Padres are, this young man played in A-ball and in Double-A last year. And then they added him to the 40-man roster over the winter to protect him from the Rule 5 draft. I mean, how you project high A to the major leagues, I mean, that's putting your foot on the metal right there. The pedal all the way down.
Out in front. Bronson takes a little off. That's strikeout number 1, out number 1. Let's check your forward defensive alignment for the Reds. They've been either first and second in the league defensively all season long. Solid in the outfield. Duvall, Hamilton, Schebler, Suarez, Cozart, Peraza, Votto across the infield, and Tucker Barnhart gets the start behind the plate. That's your forward defensive alignment. Here's Will Myers, the 26-year-old. Once the minor league player of the year back in 2012 after being drafted by Kansas City in 2009. I mean, a month ago he was hitting .320, and then the last 30 games he's hit .255. The average plummeting, and he's now at .256.
Yeah, I've always thought Will Myers is a pretty doggone good player. He was an all-star for him last year. He's only 26 years old, so he's got a lot of baseball left. But, you know, sometimes playing on a team that gets just gets getting beaten up time after time after time wears on you. And I think that might be the case for Myers.
Great point. You know, he reminds me a little bit of Dale Murphy.
Yeah.
You know, the big hands, no gloves, of course, but big, strong hands, the way he stands at the plate, the way he approaches the ball, and same demeanor, too. Always very positive, always very open to talk to teammates. And put in a position here where they're really, if you talk about leadership, they lack demonstrative leadership. I mean, Hedges behind the plate will probably evolve into a leader. But Myers is a young leader on this club, and it's tough to do that and worry about your own problems, too. 3-0 from Bronson.
Thank you very much.
Woo. Pop up right side. Votto camped under it. Got it. And there's your second out. Now, almost on cue, when we talk about Dale Murphy. Now, Murphy was on his way to a Hall of Fame career, and then at a time when the Braves, of course, really didn't have much of anything. He was the only guy in their lineup, and if you talk to those who were with Murph at that time, his strike zone just kept getting bigger and bigger because they knew if he didn't knock in runs, nobody else was going to knock him in.
Great example right there where he chased a 3-0 curveball to make it out. I mean, maybe he's thinking if I get in the middle of the zone, I'm going to take a hack at it, but didn't work out.
Here's Solarte towards the hole where Cozart was. He moved over on the shift, and the ball will find its way into center, and the Padres get a run back. So Solarte picks up a base hit and his 33rd run batted into the season.
Yeah, there are a lot of teams that shift, and there are more and more shifts going on. It seems like every month that baseball goes through, but it just seems worse when you see a ball hit where the shortstop traditionally plays, even though the data tells you that he doesn't hit the ball there very often.
And when you played, you knew pretty much where everybody was going to be on every pitch, and you didn't have to turn around because you knew where the shortstop, the second baseman, or the outfielders would be. In a situation like that, if you're Bronson Arroyo, you probably think there's somebody standing there.
Yeah, you probably do. In my case, George, when I was here in San Diego, I had Ozzie Smith. And he played everywhere from third base to first base. Anything on the ground was pretty much vacuumed up and thrown to first.
What a great era, man. You had some, what players you, and that was Jack Murphy Stadium where the Chargers played and the Padres played, and the infield was horrendous.
And a lot of rock concerts there, too. Amazing what you find out in the outfield.
Or smell. Other than the skunk.
That was one night, great night, wasn't it, when the skunk got loose in the stands?
And for those of you that don't remember, they had a tarp, and it never rains here, period, but they had a tarp, and there always would be a family of skunks somewhere, either behind the outfield wall, or every once in a while they'd build a nest inside the big rolling tarp. And we had a couple of occasions where the skunks went wild, and that cleared them out in right field, didn't it?
Everywhere that skunk went, there people were clearing out. Be good to grab some video of that. That was a fun night.
Here's Hunter Renfroe, already 13 homers, 30 knocked in. He's one of those young players who you figure will have major league impact. He has big time power. The 13 home runs, part of it, but one of those guys, when he hits it, it stays hit. He hit one off the top of the Western Metal Supply Company building the other day. And yes, he'll strike out a lot. That's where he is in his career right now. But when he makes contact, boy, and a big time arm in right field as well. He's already got a handful of assists from right. Did he check it? Yes, he did. Full count, 3-2. Bronson trying to strand a runner after one is scored. Renfroe out of Mississippi State. College World Series baseball. They're getting ready to head to Omaha. There goes the runner on the 3-2. High fly ball. It's a mile in the air, but it'll stay in the park. Duval will have it. The Reds have picked Hunter Greene today in the amateur draft. We're going to get a chance to see him in a little while. He's a Red now. First round pick, the second overall, selected Hunter Greene, a shortstop and right-handed pitcher from Notre Dame High School in California. 6'3", 195 pounds. Career as a pitcher has been just superlative, as you see on the screen there, as we go to the top of inning number 2. And Hunter joins us right now. Hunter, first of all, George Grant, Chris Welsh here in San Diego. We're just a little south of your home area, but what a special day this has to be for you. What's going through your mind right now?
Yeah, thank you, guys. There's a lot going through my mind. I'm just really excited. I was fortunate enough to get the opportunity to go to the network and really enjoy the whole experience with family and friends. And it was a lot of fun. And then the other 3 players are with me. It was good to share that opportunity with them too. So it was awesome.
Hunter, are you glad it's finally over?
Yes and no. Yeah, I enjoyed the process. I mean, yes, at times it was a lot, but altogether it was really cool to get to know more people and meet people and just play with some awesome guys. And then, my favorite part was just meeting everybody and getting to know and build relationships with people.
Just saw a shot of you when you turned around and hugged your dad, and he said a little something to you. You said a little something to him. That must have been a very special moment.
Very special, yes. I mean, all the hard work we put in together. He's been awesome with me, and ever since I was 7 years old, he's been working with me every single day to get to my dream. And today it happened, and I'm just excited for it.
Well, we're excited in Reds country to have you also. Now, for folks that don't know, Hunter, you are as good a shortstop as you are a pitcher. And I know you've been answering questions over and over. What do you want to do? Do you want to pitch? Do you want to play shortstop? I will not ask you that, but I would like to ask you, what do you like about pitching, and what do you like about playing in the field?
With pitching, I just like pounding the zone and getting after guys and just hitting the spots and just competing at my best and just going out there and having a good time on the mound. And then at shortstop, showing my range and having quick hands and nice footwork and firing the ball across the diamond and then hitting and driving balls in the gaps and hitting home runs is always fun. And just getting those opportunities.
Hunter, your mom and dad have taught you well about not just about playing ball, but giving back to the community. I know that's important for you.
So I said that one more time?
Your mom and dad have made it clear that playing baseball isn't the only thing you do in life. You've given back to the community. You've spent a lot of time working with people in your community.
Yes, that's something that I've really tried to focus on a lot, especially the last couple of years. The baseball part's easy, going out there and doing what I do naturally, but off the field, reaching out to kids and youth programs and helping them build a passion for the game of baseball is something that is really important to myself and my family.
Hunter, I read about you and your bio, and you're only 17 years old, and it's hard for a lot of us to believe that we could be anywhere near as mature as you are right now. But I understand that you're also a musician, and you play the violin, and that one day you might be able to play, the Star-Spangled Banner before a ball game.
I wish. I played in elementary school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I played the violin, so I haven't played in a long time. I got so busy where I had to put it down and I couldn't play anymore. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed playing the violin.
Hunter, I'm on the board of directors of USA Baseball, and all of us at USA Baseball, Paul Seiler, the president, we've really marveled at the work you've done with USA Baseball. What has USA Baseball meant to you and the teams you've been on?
I mean, it's been great. I mean, it's my favorite experience with baseball so far, and traveling and being able to represent my country and win those 2 gold medals with some great teams and some great ball players, and building relationships with those guys and seeing them start their career like last year with Blake and Mickey and Will and Ian, all of those guys. It was just really fun. It was a great time, and it's always awesome putting on the jersey with 3 letters across the chest and repping the country.
Hunter, you also spent a lot of time at the RBI and the Urban Youth Academy in Compton, California, where your dad would drive you down there to become, part of that organization too. You worked with some pretty good ball players to learn their trade along the years.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, starting at 7 years old, being at the Urban Youth Academy in Compton and, getting to know some awesome ball players and some great guys. And just really enjoying it and having a great time. It was really cool, and I go back to this day and still hang out with guys and just talk and meet new people. But the Urban Youth Academy helped me a lot with my skills, and most importantly, being a major league citizen and helping other people.
You'll enjoy your time with the Reds because the Reds Community Fund follows in that same footsteps as Compton, California. Hunter, congratulations. We're so happy for you. All of us in Reds country wish you great success, great health, and you and your family, congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you when you come visit us at Great American Ballpark. You come up and sit with us in the booth when you come in later on this year.
I can't wait. Thank you, guys.
Okay, congratulations, Hunter.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Goodbye.
That's Hunter Greene, and we're back as Bronson Arroyo ready to go to work here in the bottom of inning number 2. And Chris, interesting when you talk to Dick Williams and to Walt Jocarty, Walt, the former general manager, Dick, the general manager now, and when they met with Hunter and his family, they came away saying, marveling at, can he be this special, not just as a player but as a person? The thing that impressed them more than anything was not just his baseball ability, but the kind of young man that he is. It kind of reminds you a little bit, you and I have been through this, and Gene Bennett, the former super scout for the Reds, of course, had a long-time relationship with Derek Jeter when Jeter was in the draft process, and they kept coming back saying, boy, is this Derek Jeter really as good as we think he is? And Derek Jeter proved to be that off the field. We only hope that Hunter fills that same bill.
Well, you're right, George. It's so easy when you're drafting high like the Reds did last year. Number 2, they got Nick Senzel. I think they made a great pick there. He's coming up through the Red system very quickly. And they hope that, Hunter Greene will be the same thing. But, you've read a lot about Hunter Greene ever since, this year's draft has been on the radar. And, you hear things like a once-in-a-generation type player, because as well-rounded as he is, how ultra-mature he is at age 17. I mean, Dick Williams, I heard him at the press conference say that they didn't think that they were drafting high enough. Now, the Reds drafted second behind the Minnesota Twins, and they didn't think they were drafted high enough in order to get Hunter Greene. He was the guy they really wanted. And there were a lot of other good players in that draft to be taken, but they're very happy they got him.
Suarez, quick flip, and not in time, so a hit batsman and a bunt hit. And the Padres have the first 2 on here in the bottom of inning number 2.
That's a pretty good bunt right there by Alan Cordoba. I mean, he shows it early, and it really doesn't matter. He gets it by the pitcher. Now, Suarez makes this slow roller play about as well as anybody, but Cordoba is just too quick down the line.
So the first 2 on for the Padres in the bottom of 2, and here's Austin Hedges.
And the other, just from a physical standpoint, evaluating him as a pitcher, I've watched his delivery. It looks like a nice, clean delivery. Of course, he's 17. He's been clocked as hard as 102 miles an hour.
Amazing.
At 17. I mean, he was throwing 93 or so at 14. So I don't know whether the kid is ever, going to break the record or not. Who cares? Say he only ends up throwing 96. It looks like he's got a pretty good idea of a breaking ball. I think that's where the Reds are probably going to go first, to see what he can do on the mound.
Hedges drills this one into the left field corner. This will probably score 2. 1 run will score. The runner around third will score 2. And Austin Hedges has a 2-run scoring double. Now 33 runs batted in on the season, and the Padres have bounced back to take a 3-2 lead over the Reds.
The second time in 2 innings that Arroyo has hung that breaking ball right there, inner third, belt high. He did it to lead off the bottom of the first inning with Jose Perella. This time Hedges, who I watched in batting practice, he's got a powerful short swing, but he pulls everything. And if you leave that ball on the inner part of the plate, he's going to probably hit it pretty hard.
Andy Greene before the game today was saying Austin Hedges reminds him a lot of former Reds catcher Ryan Hannigan. Defensively very similar, but he's got a little more pop in his bat, but the same kind of presence behind the plate. And it's very clear that he's the guy they want to lead their pitching staff, and he's providing leadership already. Andy Greene should know it's a guy that Keith Madison, Chris, the former coach at UK, who we've known for years, said he's one of the most impressive young people he's ever had play for him, and he never doubted anything he would say in terms of making his team better. They get a sacrifice to get the runner over to third, so Perdomo, a successful sacrifice, moves the runner over, and with a runner at third, we'll go back to the top of the order in Perella.
Did you see that, though? Did you see Perdomo actually running down the line? I mean, when is the last time you saw a pitcher bust it down the line as hard as Perdomo did right here? I don't know where some of these pitchers come up with the idea they're going to wear themselves out if they run 90 feet. They jog down the line, they give the other team an automatic out. He nearly beat that out. That's the way you play the game of baseball.
So one out, the infield in for the Reds at the edge of the grass, and here's Perella, who doubled and later scored in the first. Started off slowly after coming back up from the minor leagues, but he has homered in each of his last 2 games. Now 2 homers and 5 knocked in, and he scored a run after his double in the first. You've talked about it often, you know, with a lack of big time velocity, Bronson Arroyo has to be just about picture perfect with location, and the times he's missed his spots have cost him here in the first 2 innings. The 14th time in his career he has faced the Padres, and a guy who continues to climb the record book ladder for the Reds. This is 278th start. That's 7th all-time for the Reds. Has 108 wins. That's 12th all-time, and over 1,700 innings pitched. Also, he's 12th all-time on the Reds list. That's a liner off the glove of the second baseman. Peraza. Run's going to score.
This ball should be caught right here. You bring the infield in, you got to be on the balls of your feet. We've seen that happen with Peraza several times now, going to his left, kind of alligator arming the defensive shot of trying to, whether it's a ground ball or a line drive. That ball, although hit hard, should have been an out.
Now a runner on first. The middle of the infield drops back to double play depth, and here's Cordero. Franchi Cordero struck out first time up. They give Perella a hit on that. That's 5 hits now for the Padres.
I'll tell you, the Padres are squaring it up pretty good right now. I don't know how long Arroyo's leash will be tonight, but the Reds need this win. I mean, they need to come in here in San Diego and establish themselves as a team that can win a game or 2 on the road. They are 8 games under on the road, and they're much better at home. They play like a completely different ball team when they get back to Great American Ballpark.
They're 19 and 15 at home and 10 and 18 on the road after losing 3 straight in Los Angeles. And remember that first road trip, Chris, on to St. Louis, and the 5-1 record of their first 6 games on the road. Since then, they're 5-17.
Well, they got ambushed yesterday in that very devastating and hard to swallow loss late in the ball game in Los Angeles. So they're trying to kind of get their momentum back a little bit.
Line to left, Duval back, looking up at the wall. It is gone. 2 rows deep by Cordero, his first home run. And Arroyo gets clubbed the other way for a round tripper. And that'll make it 6-2 San Diego.
You know, we mentioned it early in the ball game, George, about how the ball was flying out of here in batting practice. Sometimes it makes a difference during the day, but come on. This pitch on a breaking ball with that swing goes opposite field at Petco Park, and you're telling me something's not up?
First pitch swinging as Myers pops it up and out of play. And again, for those of you that haven't been here lately, they've moved the fences in, both in left field and right field. They've moved them in 11 feet and 12 feet.
But not
and
from last year to this year.
No, the last couple of years. They've done it in 3 stages, and the fence is lower now. In fact, the old fence that probably would have banged off the fence.
Well, not with the baseballs they were playing with 3 years ago, wouldn't it?
The ball's hopping. I mean, look at the home run numbers for the first 2 months of the year.
Yeah, I mean, home runs are up 43% since 2014. So you know, it's just the way the game is going. It's more of an observation, definitely not an opinion. But I mean, it's tougher on pitchers than it ever has been before. You got more guys swinging for the fences instead of shortening up with 2 strikes and hit it the other way. And you simply got to keep the ball down, as hitters more and more try to elevate those pitches into the air. So it's a combination of a lot of things. Right now it's Arroyo not being able to hit his spots.
Myers slices this one into left center field. Under it is Hamilton. Billy has it, and there's your second out of the inning. Time for our storylines, brought to you by Elkin Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Entering today's game, 97 home runs allowed by the Reds through 62 games. That's the second most in team history, and you know the most. That was last year. And the Padres, 86 through 64 games. That's tied for most in the team's history. So these are two teams that hit home runs a lot, but also give up a ton. And of any Reds pitcher, Bronson Arroyo's at the top of that list. Here's Solarte, who's singled in the first. There's a shot to right center field. Back is Hamilton looking up, and that is gone. Fifth hit in the inning, second home run in the inning. And it's 7-2 San Diego, the 8th batter of the inning.
Nobody throwing in the Reds bullpen.
So Solarte gets home run number 6. He's 2 for 2. And here comes Renfroe. Hunter fly to left to end the first inning, up for the second time. This one hit the other way. At the edge of the warning track, reaching up, hauling it in will be Schebler. But damage done. 5 hits, 2 homers against Bronson Arroyo, and the Padres now lead at 7-2.
Draft. We talked to Hunter Greene, the second pick overall, with a compensatory pick at 32. They went with Jeter Downs, a shortstop, a high school shortstop out of the Miami area. And with a 38th pick, they went with outfielder Stuart Fairchild of Wake Forest, a potential 5-tool guy. As far as Jeter Downs goes, he was born on the island of St. Andrews and named after Derek Jeter. Scouts love the way he swings the bat, good power for his size, good base running acumen, and solid defensively. He's a shortstop now. Great athlete, 5'11", 180. Who knows where he'll play in the future, but a couple position players drafted after Hunter Greene.
Thanks, JD. It was kind of interesting, Jim, wasn't it, during today's draft? All the Reds players were huddled in the visiting clubhouse, as we all were, waiting to see what would happen. And you know, you've been through this a few years now, and you know, most of the players are pretty much up on the top picks, and certainly Hunter Greene was at the top of that list as the draft unfolded, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's very interesting that guys at the major league level, particularly at the top of the draft, they knew exactly who the players were that were being selected. And when the Twins made their selection, it kind of opened some eyes. And then, you know, the pressure was not pressure, but wondering if Brendan McKay from Louisville would possibly be picked, with Hunter Greene still on the board as well. So, yeah, it was everyone's eyes locked on the television screen.
Votto to left, back to the warning track, hauling it in is Perella. Joey singled his first time up, flies out here, and there's 2 away, and here comes Duvall.
Oh, if you're drafted, George, in the first 10 spots of the first round, I mean, you use the same private bankers that big leaguers do.
You're right.
That's what they have in common.
It is a different world. Now, you remember your draft day, don't you? Or should we say draft?
Yeah.
Should we say draft weeks?
That's about what it was.
Well, they overshift to the left side, and Duvall punches one to the right side for a base hit, and he picks their pocket, turning it into 2. A double by Duvall. What do you remember about that draft day, or that period of time?
Well, when I was a junior, I was drafted by the Yankees, and I knew that to be a fact because it was in the paper. But I didn't hear from the Yankees for about 2 weeks. I'd reported my team up in the Cape Cod League, and I never heard from them, so I wrote them a postcard that said, "Dear Yankees, I'm your 24th round pick. If you want to contact me, here's the phone number at the house." And about 5 days later, the phone rings, and it was the Yankees, and they said, "Well, you know, we didn't think you were going to sign anyway, so that's why we didn't contact you."
So how much did you have to pay him to sign you?
I turned down $500 that year.
Line drive, right field, going back, looking up, and reaching up, and hauling it in is Renfroe. And he sends a souvenir into the stands. Reds get a double, nothing to show for it. 7-2 Padres. The man of the week, our IGS bringing the energy numbers. Scooter Gennett, the National League Player of the Week, 500 average, 2 doubles, and you know about the home runs. 4 of them in one game on Tuesday. First player in Major League history with 5 hits, 4 homers, 10 runs batted in a ball game. And you know, Chris, there are nights that just make somebody historically relevant forever, and that's a night for Scooter, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he'll forever will be, you know, going to autograph sessions and appearances and so on as the guy that hit 4 home runs on Bow Tie Tuesday. So,
and congratulations on the bow tie too.
Yeah, we ended up for the Reds Community Fund having a gentleman who lives in London, England, spend $3,000. That's mainly a contribution to the Reds Community Fund. In exchange, gets that bow tie. We're fixing it up in a really nice shadow box and some plaques and so on in there. But it was all Scooter Gennett, best bow tie Tuesday ever.
That was a very special night. There's a pop-up into left. Duval almost in his tracks, and they retire Spangenberg. He reached being hit by a pitch in the second that started the Padres rally. And the bow tie lives on, huh, JD?
It certainly does, George. And that gentleman from London, we talked to him on the phone when he was given his information, you know, getting the money for the Reds Community Fund. And we're also doing a lunch coming up with Scooter Gennett and with Billy Hamilton and myself. And he, from London, says that he's going to try his best to be at that luncheon. We invited him to the lunch. He says, I'm in. I'm going to work on flights. So if he makes it, Chris Welsh, you're going to have to show up too.
Oh, you better believe it. I love it. We've got to get him up there during the ball game and give him a look from our TV booth.
Hey, you know, we have some great nights. I mean, tonight was a fun night, you know, with Hunter Greene signing, and we remember those nights throughout our careers. But that always is just a remarkable night to listen to the stories, to interview some of the students who have gone through the program with the Reds, to get a chance to visit with people. JD, I know you and I mean, we sit there, we marvel at the people, and also the, you know, the people from Beacon Sports who are up there answering the phone lines. They were nonstop all night long.
Yeah, let's not forget about the donation made by Beacon and Dr. Tim Kremchek of $15,000. That is just way over and above. He had all of his staff up there working closely with Jim Day. I'll tell you what, Jim, it was a team effort, wasn't it?
It really was, and it's amazing to watch. On one singular night, in one singular game, the phones to ring off the hook, and I've just never been involved in raising so much money. I mean, we raised $150,000 in that neighborhood on that night, all told. And it goes to a good cause, I'll tell you that. We heard from the young men and young women that it changes their lives and it makes them better citizens. And, you know, proof positive is the guy you talked to tonight, Hunter Greene. He talked about going to the Urban Youth Academy when he was a kid. And he said tonight on the conference call that he would love to get involved with the Reds Community Fund and the Reds Urban Youth Academy. And he said the biggest thing that it taught him is not so much baseball, but it was being a major league citizen and a great young man. That's what he took out of it the most. So, yeah, they would love to develop some major league players in the future coming out of those academies, but they want to develop people first.
And before this draft is over, you know, tomorrow and the next day, there's a real good possibility that 1 or 2 of those players from the Urban Youth Academy, oh no, a pop-up drops between everyone, and it'll wind up being a base hit for Austin Hedges. A brain cramp by the Reds defense. No one called, and it drops behind the mound for a base hit. Let's see if we can hear who calls, or does anybody call. Listen. There's more than one calling for it, but nobody caught it.
Boy, they had it surrounded. I mean, perfectly surrounded. Well, that ball better give up because it's not getting out of there.
Here's another one. Who's going to take charge this time? Suarez will. Perdomo pops up. but Hedges is 2 for 2 after his pop-up gift, and the Reds trail 7-2. Park, boy, its statue is already coming through in fine fashion. June the 17th, Pete Rose statue dedication on Reds.com. You can be a part of it. It's amazing when you get a chance to come by the ballpark. The statue will be between the Reds Hall of Fame and the main entrance to the Reds offices, and it's just remarkable the way it's coming together. Tom Teixeira has done another remarkable job in the Reds Hall of Fame, getting set for a special weekend with the Pete Rose statue unveiling. That's going to be the second straight year that we get to have some fun with Pete at the ballpark, Chris. That's going to be fun.
Oh, it'll be huge. This one will be a big one.
Schebler, big shot. Right field, warning track, wall, and it is caught in front of the wall by Renfroe. Schebler got most of it, but not all of it, and Renfroe holds it in.
Looks like Perdomo is convinced this ball is leaving the ballpark. Watch the reaction right here. Oh, I've seen enough of those to know. Well, maybe not. Huh. I escaped that time. Get that bad taste out of his mouth.
One away. Schebler flies out. Schebler singled in a run his first time up. By the way, Fox Sports Ohio and the Reds would like to send out a happy birthday wish to Alma Webb, who's celebrating her 89th birthday today. Congratulations and a very happy 89th.
George, good job on wishing the happy birthday there to Alma Webb. I got an email from their family, and they asked me if we would shout out to them, and I'm so happy that we're able to make that work. And Alma, I hope we hope that you're having a wonderful 89th birthday today, and we hope that we can wish you happy 90 next year.
Amen.
Right here from San Diego.
Here's the Reds catcher Tucker Barnhart. Bounced out first time up. 7 runs, 8 hits for the Padres. 2 runs, 4 hits for the Reds. Lazy fly ball to left. Under it is Perella. He has it. And it's a quiet 1-2-3 in the 4th for the Reds. Cincinnati trails at 7-2. brought to you by Chevy. Check out our award-winning lineup only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Hey, feeling good? It's Skyline time. And don't forget, tonight we're participating in the Home Run Challenge. Every home run and strikeout in this game raises money for prostate cancer research. Since June 1st, $2.5 million have been raised in the challenge. You can make a pledge by going to homerunchallenge.org. As we head towards Father's Day and culmination of a great month of raising money to fight prostate cancer. Bronson back out there trying to just keep it where it is and give the Reds a chance to rally. Jose Pirela will lead it off. He's 2 for 2, doubled and scored in the first, and singled to plate the 4th run for the Padres in the second. 2 for 2. On the outside corner for a strike. 2 balls and 1 strike. 3 innings, 60 pitches for Bronson as we go to work here in the bottom of 4. 2 balls, 2 strikes. He only gets 1 strike on this, even though it hit the bat twice. And somehow Tucker Barnhart didn't get clubbed with that bat the second time around.
Quite a follow through.
Cordero homered last time up. He's in the on-deck circle. Wide to third. Suarez has it. 1 away. This time of year, Chris, kind of similar to Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. After a warm day and a chilly night, not chilly but cool night, you get a little bit of that mist and dew on the grass, and you could see Spangenberg once, and you could see again with Suarez there, almost double clutching as that ball might be a little bit wet after it spins through the grass.
That's about as close as they come to rain here.
Yeah.
Although they did have a rainy winter and off season.
Especially just north of here.
Summertime, not too much.
And there's some parts of Northern California that they're going to have snow until well into the summer months. The ball, 1 strike to Cordero. Now, when you played here in the 80s, and it was different. It was a much smaller community then, but still, there's a bouncer. It's a fair ball. Past Votto into the corner. Good job by Schebler to track it down. His throw won't be in time, though, as Cordero with good speed powers into second.
Well, what a night Cordero's having. Franchi Cordero, we were talking about that. He's a shortstop by trade, Cordero is. They moved him into the outfield. There's no room here at shortstop. And he hooks a ball that's well off the plate outside, right down the line past Votto.
Another runner in scoring position. Cordero down at second with 1 out, and here's Will Myers. 0 for 2. 2 pop-ups. Through the open side of the infield on the right side. That'll get the run in, and it's now 8-2 San Diego, and Myers picks up his 32nd run batted in.
Myers clearly looking to hit the ball to the right side, and Arroyo gave him a perfect pitch to do that with. That ball hovered around waist high on the outer part of the plate. Myers, who's pretty good with control of the bat, is able to bounce it into hole.
First pitch swinging, fly ball to center by Solarte. There is Billy. Hamilton will haul it in, and there's your second out of the inning. Hey, don't forget, Wednesday on the newest edition of Reds Weekly, get a comprehensive recap of the Reds' top picks from this year's amateur draft. Go inside the making of the unique Pete Rose statue that'll be unveiled this weekend. Plus, Zach Cozart's future with the Reds past this season. All that and more on an all-new Reds Weekly, Wednesday following Reds Live and the postgame show. Join Jeff Piccoro and Doug Flynn for that one. And Doug Flynn made a cameo appearance on the Reds Live postgame show with Pick in Los Angeles. So Pick got to go to LA, and Dougie got a chance to hit the studio with Brian Giesenslaw. And of course, Brian and Jeff Piccoro will be back a little bit later to update us again on the draft tonight, and of course have a complete recap, not just on Reds Weekly, but on today's portion of the draft on Reds Live postgame. 2 balls, no strikes to Renfroe.
Just one of those nights for Arroyo where that release point's not there. You know, sometimes you just get out there and things don't click for you, and you're struggling with your stuff. And mainly what that means is command.
Job by Cozart, gets the final out of the inning, but not before a double by Cordero, a single by Myers. It's now an 8-2 lead for the Padres. Weekends are back when the Dodgers come to town June 16th. Buy 4 view level tickets, receive 4 special number 14 Reds hats, and honor the Pete Rose statue unveiling. Take advantage of the 4 for $48 ticket offer and save. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com. Perdomo's in 0-3 with an ERA of nearly 6 coming in, but he has pitched outstandingly well on this night. He gave up 2 runs in the first, not all of his own doing. A couple of plays that could have been turned weren't. They were credited as hits, could have just as easily been an error. And then a base hit by Schebler plated the 2 Reds runs. Since then, he's kept the Reds off the board. Arroyo bounces it to short, and there's one away.
Might be some people out there a little surprised to see Arroyo's out there still in the game hitting for himself here to lead the inning off. I mean, how many times do you see a pitcher who's given up 8 runs get the bat in the 5th inning?
You know, part of this whole package, Chris, and we've talked a lot about it, the Reds surprising a lot of people through the first 2 months of the season, but the one thing that Brian Price knew all along was unless you got some starting pitching and you lengthen your starts, the bullpen would begin to suffer the consequences. How often have we come to the month of June where the bullpen had almost as many innings pitched as the starting rotation, and usually a prescription for trouble in July?
Oh, it's always a prescription for trouble. That's why you shouldn't be surprised to see it happening. Well, there is help on the way. That's the good news. I mean, I think it was just last night that Brandon Finnegan participated in the second no-hitter of the year that the Reds minor leaguers have put together. He threw 3 innings, I believe, down in Double-A. And Homer Bailey is scheduled to pitch for Dayton, I think this week, either tonight or tomorrow. Maybe Jim Day can fill us in a little bit more on that. But, you know, so help is on the way, no question about it.
And then probably if everything goes right with Homer, who threw over 60 pitches last time out, after a start in Dayton, he'll probably have a start in Louisville, and then hopefully the next start will be with the Reds. Billy 0 for 3 takes that one looking. That's only the 3rd strikeout. There's a bouncer wide of third. Spangenberg, nice play. Cozart robbed of a hit on a nice play by Spangenberg, and the Reds go 3 straight for the 2nd straight inning.
Point, I'm worthy of it. So for the fans outside of, I mean, obviously Cincy fans are probably voting left and right, but you have to have a little bit of help outside of Cincy, and obviously I've gotten a little bit of that. So it's really cool to get those votes outside of our market. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
As Zach Cozart's latest round of voting came out today, and he was trailing Corey Seager of the Dodgers, but he has leapfrogged him. It has been a steady climb, and again, there's been no local push. In the past, you've seen a ground roots effort, hey, vote such and such. As here's another extra base hit off of Arroyo. But this time, gentlemen, there hasn't been that. It's basically the national vote that has just looked at the season that Zach Cozart has had and have voted for him without a ground roots movement, I should say. And you look at how he's gained votes. He was down more than 100,000 votes on May 30th, then climbed on June 5th, and today he's ahead by almost 200,000 votes. So get on to Reds.com/vote. Voting ends June 29th. It would be his first All-Star game, and you better believe it would be an honor, and he wants to go.
Well, one way or another, Zach Cozart's going to the All-Star game.
Definitely.
Now,
right.
whether he's able to start or not depends on the vote, and that's where those who support Zach Cozart, Reds fans, ought to get out there and vote as often as you can, which I think is 25 times.
Leadoff double by Spangenberg. Here's Cordoba. Spangenberg's first hit of the night. Cordoba reached on a bunt hit and then struck out. 1 for 2. I mean, in all probability, obviously, if Zach Cozart were to win the vote total, he would go as a Reds representative. Every team has to have at least one. If he does not win there, in all probability, he would be named by the National League and Major League Baseball hierarchy, which of course includes the manager and the front office people from the National League. But you know, Chris, look at it. I mean, you look at Reds like Adam Duvall last year. He had a great first half and deserved to be named to the All-Star team. And when you look at the Reds through this first half, you could make an argument for Cozart, make an argument for Duvall, make an argument for Schebler, Votto, you know, down the list.
Well, they're all not going to go.
No, that's probably only one at the most 2.
Right. And Cozart should be one. That's a pretty good bit of hitting right there, getting that runner over to third, even with a 6-run lead. But Votto's also having a monster year.
Yep.
I mean, got off to a slow start. He's got his batting average over 300 right now. The problem, though, in the National League, that All-Star ticket as a first baseman is a very difficult one to get, because you've got a lot of other very good All-Star caliber first basemen, Goldschmidt, Rizzo, to name the first couple, and they come from big markets too. And it's tough to get the vote when you're, you know, going head to head against the Cubby.
Infield in for the Reds with 1 out and a runner at third. You know, look, last year, if you remember, Will Myers made the All-Star team. He had a deserving first half, but every team has to have at least one representative. He was the San Diego representative. And it's going to be a similar story when we get to the end of June this year, because they're, you know, Myers will probably be the first and foremost representative of this team, of the Padres, a first baseman. 1 ball, 1 strike to Austin Hedges. 2 for 2. Line drive to left. Duvall won't get there. It'll be over his head, off the wall. And Hedges will have his 3rd hit, but he will be nailed trying to stretch it into 2. An RBI from Hedges. That'll make it 9-2 San Diego, and a great recovery by Duvall and a perfect throw to second.
Well, he made a mistake, Arroyo did, by coming on the inner part of the plate with that pitch. Hedges is looking for something to pull, and he does that. And how many times have we seen Duvall play it well? I mean, Hedges is like slipping and sliding and tripping and can't decide which way to go, and he runs right into an out. And right now, Arroyo will take him any way he can get him.
Here's Perdomo. Sacrificed and popped up.
Reds do have activity in their bullpen. Bryce has been up and throwing since the leadoff double.
87 pitches now for Bronson Arroyo. Teddy Power, the bullpen coach, with Bryce loosening. Austin, one of 6 right-handers in the Reds bullpen, and 2 left-handers. Tony Cingrani, of course, activated, joining Peralta. That's lashed down the left field line and out of play. One and 2. This one blooped into left center. Here comes Billy. He won't get there. It's going to get past him. All the way to the edge of the warning track. That'll be a triple for Perdomo.
Well, this ball club is playing like they've got a severe case of jet lag.
That's a good point. Sluggish. Perdomo gets his first triple of the year. He's at third. And that'll be it for Bronson Arroyo. So while the pitching change takes place, we'll take time out for these messages. You're watching Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Time for our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. He exits on the short end of a 9-2 score, 9 runs, 13 hits allowed by Bronson.
You know, it might be a laugher when you're down 7 runs in the 5th inning, but it's not a laugher when you're the starting pitcher. And you can see the intensity on the face of Bronson Arroyo, man. I mean, this kind of performance simply not acceptable. And it's a kind of game you go through, you're thinking pitch by pitch, I hung that pitch, I need a little defense here, maybe I shook too many times off or I didn't shake enough. And it's been a rough road trip. And the guy has a lot of professional pride, and it will not sit with him very well.
So he gives way to Austin Bryce. Bryce takes over with the Reds trailing 9-2, runner at third, and 2 away. Bryce did pitch Sunday in LA, came in the 7th inning with 1 out, 2 runners on, stranded both after inducing pinch hitter Logan Forsythe to ground into a double play. In the 8th, allowed Bellinger's 2nd homer of the game, and then charged with a 2nd run that scored after Raisel Iglesias came into the game. Perella, night for him, double, scored a run in the 1st, single, and then a bounce out. His single plated the 4th run, and there's a walk, so it's 1st and 3rd with 2 away.
Bryce now 13 games for the Reds this year. He pitched in 15 games last year. That was his first ever time in the major leagues for the Marlins. He came up at the very end of August and pitched throughout the month of September. Had a good chance of making the ball club coming out of spring training, but he came up with a bum arm, and that put him on the DL and had to come along very slowly. His control has been good. Walk-wise this year, that's only his 3rd walk in 18 innings.
Here's Franchi Cordero, struck out first time up, homered a 361-foot shot in the second that made it 6-2, a 2-run homer, and then doubled to right in the fourth. 2 for 3 for Cordero.
George will have a chance to talk about it a lot, but you know, the hitter coming in here right now, Franchi Cordero, signed as a youngster from the Dominican Republic as a free agent, not subject to the draft if you come from, you know, the Dominican Republic or Mexico or Venezuela or even from any country over in Asia. But if you are from Puerto Rico or from the United States, you're subject to go through the draft. So the Reds pick up a player like Hunter Greene, who was ballyhooed as one of the best young baseball players in a generation. You know, a pitcher that can throw 102 miles an hour. He can play shortstop. You just wonder what he would make on the open market if he was, say, from Cuba instead of from Los Angeles.
Or Japan. Sure.
I mean, at 17 years old, you're throwing 100 miles an hour, you're going to get a lot of dough. We'll talk more about that. I think it's worth probably revisiting.
Votto gets a force at second. Reds trail in this one 9-2 as we head to the sixth.
Brought to you by T-Mobile. Jamison Taillon returned to the mound tonight for the first time in 5 weeks since undergoing surgery for testicular cancer and went 5 innings of scoreless baseball. So that is a good story right there. We wish him the best. And the New York Yankees, check them out. Bronx Bombers are back. Scored 8 runs in 5 straight games for the first time since 1939. 55 runs, 17 home runs, and Aaron Judge, a star in the making.
Talk about big-time home runs. Judge has come up with some dynamic home runs in the early part of this year.
Not only dynamic, but they're hit a long way, too. I mean, maybe you mean dynamic by the StatCast information that they're providing about home runs now, you know, the exit velocity and so on. But, I mean, he continues to set record after record as far as exit velocity off the bat, which is something that you thought that Giancarlo Stanton pretty much owned until Aaron Judge came along.
Here's Joey Votto tonight, single to left and then fly to the warning track and left. They overshift dramatically against him again with Perella only about 30 feet from the line down the left field line, and the center fielder Cordero in left center.
It's amazing. We've never seen this kind of defense configuration against Joey Votto. What do you call this, the SoCal defense?
The Marine layer defense. Yeah. I mean, Hunter Renfroe looks like he's a man without a country out there. And Votto still finds a way. Yeah, it brings to mind, Chris, I mean, Joey Votto is just a unique talent, a unique offensive player that comes around maybe, you know, once in a generation. And the guy that wore number 19 here was that kind of a guy too, Tony Gwynn. And I remember talking to Barry Larkin when every time the Reds would play the San Diego Padres, and it would be a chess match between Barry Larkin and Tony Gwynn. Barry would move one step to the left and Gwynn would hit it right where Barry was. Barry would move 2 steps to the right and Tony Gwynn would hit it, and they would look at each other and smile. And it was the ability to control the bat the way Tony Gwynn did, and the way certainly Barry Larkin did, but the way Joey Votto does as well.
You know what they both have in common, George? You know, when Gwynn was playing, watching and studying video was really in its infancy. And he was one of the pioneers of that. And of course, Votto is well known for a guy who, you know, ultra prepares for every game, looks at a lot of video of himself, of course, and the opposing pitchers to try to, you know, get tendencies and so on. And, you know, kind of hand in hand, step in step with what Gwynn did.
There's Adam Duvall, 2 for 2.
I mean, oh, by the way, they both own that 5.5 hole.
Yep.
Which is between the shortstop and the third baseman. Gwynn could hit it there almost at will. You know, Tony Gwynn once told me that, I asked him, I said, Tony, it just seems to me sometimes you will the pitcher to throw you a certain pitch. And he laughed and said, you know, I think I do sometimes.
So
you're looking fastball and he's thinking curveball, but you will so hard that he changes his mind and gives you fastball after all. He said, yeah, I really believe that's happened a few times.
And of course, Tony, you know, will always be remembered here by his presence, the statue and the number retired. But, you know, his son, Tony Gwynn Jr., now works as a broadcaster here over on the radio side. Great to see him. And for any of you that have met him, he's out of the same mold. Just not just likable, but a first-class human being, and he's done a fine job broadcasting-wise here. Strikeout of Duvall. There's one away with one on. And just a reminder, enjoy a cold one. Look forward to Miller time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. I remember one night, Chris, remember when Tony Gwynn lined into a triple play, and it was one of those nights where Barry Larkin and Tony were playing hide and seek, where Larkin would move left, move right, and there were runners at first and second, and the end result was Barry won that battle with a line drive to Larkin. Barry stepped on, fed to Brett Boone, and then Boone to Hal Morris for a triple play, and Tony went running down the first base line waving 2 fingers at Barry Larkin, meaning it's the second time that's happened to me, the second time I've hit into a triple play. Magic wand with the bat, wasn't he?
Yeah.
What a tremendous human being. And you're right. I did a piece with him in 1984 about video. It was an 8-minute interview piece. And that was when he would go on the road, and his wife, Alicia, would videotape the games in the hotel room. They didn't have video in the clubhouse when he first started. She would plug the VCR recorder into the TV in the hotel room, tape the games, and then Tony come home and look at it. Swing and a miss by Suarez. And of course, the Reds benefited from him. Remember in '98, after they had the great year here, Greg Vaughn came to Cincinnati. Reds didn't have any video then. Vaughn brought some of the video that Gwynn had here with him, and they really came in out of the dark ages with the Reds. Greg Vaughn paid for it on his own to start the video process in Cincinnati. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bouncer, right side. They'll get one at second, and they'll turn 2. Now, leadoff hit by Joey Votto, nothing to show for it, and the Reds still trail in this one. From San Diego and Petco Park, Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, being brought to you by Cincinnati Children's, changing the outcome together, and by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. Downtown San Diego. Alcantara, the new replacement for the Reds in the outfield. At shortstop, rather. He'll take over at short. And Bryce will continue to face Will Myers as we go to the bottom of inning number 6. So it's Suarez at third, Arizmendi, Alcantara at short, Peraza at second, and Votto at first for the Reds defensively in the infield. On the corner for a strike, 1-2. Two balls, 2 strikes. The big Reds right-hander dealing with Myers. Myers 1 for 3, singled in the 8th run for the Padres back in the 4th inning. That fastball's up and in. We talked about Will making the All-Star game last year. Had a great first half. 286, 19 homers, finished with big home run numbers. That's hit hard down to short. Great backhand by the Reds shortstop up the line, but what a play by Votto. Joey gloves it and then tag Myers on the leg for the out. Boy, that can so often be a very dangerous play. Votto does it about as well as you can. What a play, Chris.
Really great stop right there. Alcantara comes up and throws it wide, and really fortunate where the ball was. Votto catches his ball in fair territory. His arm is not over the line when he grabs it, so that's why there's really not all that much danger unless Will Myers is running well inside the line. He isn't. He tries to jump past the tag, and Votto gets him. It's a nice play.
We talk often about how hard Votto works on his offense. He probably works harder on his defense. By his own admission, not a great defensive player when he first signed. A catcher, a first baseman, a third baseman, an outfielder. There's a bouncer to short again. Alcantara over to Votto this time. So 2 away. And don't forget, start off your weekend with a bang with Fireworks Fridays at the ballpark. Friday, June the 16th. Cheer on your Reds when they take on the Dodgers. And save with a 4 for $48 ticket offer. Plus, don't miss a spectacular post-game fireworks show presented by Cooper Tire. For tickets, visit Reds.com. There are some of the Reds faithful here. Over the years, Chris, especially at the old ballpark when you came here, some of the area scouts and a lot of Southern California Reds fans would make their way, and usually back in those days it was you'd come 3 times, not just once. You'd come 3 times to the West Coast. Great to watch the Reds fans from an era when the Reds-Dodgers rivalry was spectacular. And a lot of transplants still carry their red jerseys to the ballpark. That's a strike, and that'll do it. 2 nice plays defensively help Bryce fill 1, 2, 3 innings. To the 7th we go. Schebler will lead it all. You're right, Pick. Thank you. And we'll be back with a complete recap of today's draft on Reds Live postgame. Hunter Greene picked by the Reds today as the number 2 pick overall. And the Reds, I think, going into the draft, I mean, there was a flip of the coin. Would Greene be available? Who might they select? I mean, the choices were certainly impressive ones in the first 2 or 3 picks at the top of the draft, but Hunter Greene very clearly not just a superlative athlete, but a very special individual as well as a pitcher and a shortstop. Well, Bryce got the Reds back to the batter's box here in the 7th. Here's Schebler leading it off. Peraza will follow, and then Barnhart. Schebler tonight singled in the Reds 2 runs back in the 1st. A bullet into center field that knocked in 2, and he flied to the warning track and right in the 4th inning. So he's 1 for 2. That's a bouncer. That'll find its way into center. So a 2-hit night for Scott Schebler. He's 2 for 3, and here comes Peraza. You know, we talk about, you heard Jeff Piccolo say, you know, a once in a generation kind of player. That's been tabbed on Hunter Greene, a superlative athlete, a very special talent. And certainly this draft, not just the first pick, but 3 picks in the top 40 for the Reds, should give the Reds 3 quality athletes to develop. And the other side of the story is, some people forget about it sometimes, it's not just this draft, but the Reds already this week announced that they signed Cuban shortstop Jose Garcia to a minor league contract, a 19-year-old with a signing bonus of about $5 million. So you add it up, and Cincinnati's total allotment to signing players, as you were talking about, Chris, there's a pop-up to the right side. Will Myers over. Will be over their allotment. In fact, they'll have to pay a penalty, but they wound up picking up shortstop Alfredo Rodriguez for $7 million in July, then Vladimir Gutierrez for another $5 million in September. So they've spent a lot of money. You give Bob Castellini and the ownership group credit. They're not just drafting players, but they've gone over their allotted number and will pay the penalty, but with a chance to get some pretty impressive young athletes.
Well, let's hope some of them work out. You know, so far it's been very interesting, especially regarding the Cuban players that have come over. It seems like Cuban pitchers have had a tendency to be much more successful than Cuban regular players, infielders and outfielders. Now there's exceptions. Yoenis Cespedes obviously is an impact player, but I mean, you name the number of middle infielders that have come over from Cuba and have made an impact in Major League Baseball over the last 5 or 6 years. There aren't any, and you're wondering if maybe the Reds are able to break through and be some of the first ones to scout correctly down there.
That's going to kick all the way to the backstop, and Schebler will go to second. Long way to go, but the Reds trying to claw their way back into this one. 9 runs, 13 hits for the Padres, 5 left on, 2 runs, both of them scoring in the first for the Reds. 6 hits, no errors, and 3 left on. There are years when the Reds have drafted heavily on pitching, and you know, we're still early in this draft. We've got 2 more days left of the draft, and they may very well double up on pitchers later on. And certainly Hunter Greene at the top of that list, and the Reds labeled him as a pitcher, even though when we talked to him, he said, you know, not his decision, but he's happy to play both. There's a liner right at the shortstop, and Schebler gets back to second. There's 2 away. Hit right on the button by Barnhart, but right at the shortstop. Here's Scooter Gennett, who will come in and pinch hit for the pitcher, number 9 in the order, Bryce's spot. The headlines for tonight: Scooter named the National League Player of the Week after his 4 home run performance last week. The Reds drafting Hunter Greene, the number 2 pick overall. And the draft continues. We'll have a complete recap of it on Reds Live postgame.
You know, George, we were beginning a conversation here. I have started again with 2 outs, but wonder what Hunter Greene would make if he were be able to be a free agent at age 17 years old, say coming off the island of the Dominican Republic or Cuba, or somewhere where you can be an amateur free agent and go to the highest bidder. And the White Sox recently paid for a, I think, 20-year-old shortstop, Luis Robert, over $50 million. Now the Reds, because of the draft, are able to draft second. I think their slot is somewhere around $7.1 or $7.2 million in that neighborhood. So, you know, all the scouts that I've spoken to and the people that know would say Hunter Greene would be right there with that player that the White Sox drafted, or White Sox signed for $50 million.
Scooter rifles this one into right. That's a base hit. That'll get Schebler home. So Scooter has a pinch hit base hit. A run scoring base hit that gives the Reds their 3rd run of the night.
So it's just kind of interesting to see how things work out. The Reds may be the beneficiary of picking at the right place the right year. For the 2nd year in a row, they get to pick the 2nd player taken in the draft, and you usually get a pretty good player. So let's hope it all works out. He certainly sounds like a very impressive young man.
Well, congratulations to Chris Buckley and his whole staff that they've been hunkered down the last couple of weeks, going through the videos, the reports, the analytics of all the players. And as you heard Dick Williams say, you know, you don't know who's going to draft ahead of you, so it's a domino effect depending on who picks which player at the top of the draft. It reflects how you react deeper in the draft, and the Reds knew pretty well that they would get a quality athlete at the top of the draft, and they certainly have in Hunter Greene.
And for those that are following local baseball, as to some local kids that were drafted high, of course he was spoken of and connected with the Reds from time to time. Brendan McKay, the everything pitcher / first baseman down at University of Louisville, was taken 4th in the draft by the Tampa Bay Rays. He won the John Olerud, or could win the John Olerud award this year for the best two-way player in college baseball for the 3rd consecutive year. That is unbelievable.
And that's an award that Michael Lorenzen was a finalist for when Michael was a center fielder and a pitcher for Cal State Fullerton. You know, that brings, we talk about Hunter Greene, Chris, you know, it brings up, you know, if you're the Reds at some point in time, with the work that Michael Lorenzen has done out of the bullpen, and he's stretched out a couple of times, is there an end date when you couldn't move him into a position of being is that fair or foul? It's a foul ball, where you could move him to the starting rotation, or do you leave him in the bullpen? And we went through this with Aroldis Chapman certainly for a number of years.
Well, you know, I think that anybody who's spoken with Michael Lorenzen know where his feelings lie, and I think that he would like to be considered to be, you know, get another shot to be a starter. I don't think why you couldn't do it mid-season. I mean, they used to do that all the time. Bring a kid up, pitch him for a little while in the bullpen, then move him into rotation when he shows that he's good enough. I mean, I'm one that always believes that, you know, you should kind of reload rather than rebuild. You know, the Reds have a pretty good offensive team here, and the reason they're losing is very clear. Their starting pitching stinks, but they're getting some people healthy here. So if you believe that Homer Bailey and Brandon Finnegan can make a difference, and if you have another starter, you know, Scott Feldman's throwing the ball pretty well the last few times out. You have another starter from within. I'm not talking about somebody up in the minor leagues that hasn't shown that he can do it yet. But Lorenzen is a guy that is a completely different pitcher now than he was 2 years ago when he was bouncing back and forth, you know, as a starter. I'd give him another shot. It would be a very easy decision for me.
Pitching change for the Padres. Perdomo's gone. More about him when we return. coming in 0-3 at an ERA around 6, 98 pitches worth of baseball, and he exits on the smiling side of a scoreboard that is pretty impressive for Perdomo. Ryan Buchter will take over, the left-hander out of the bullpen, Chris.
Well, he's often used, Buchter is, and this is one area where the Padres have not had a tremendous amount of success, holding leads when they do have them. But Buchter's got a very nice earned run average, right in the mid-3s. Perdomo finally gets some run support. If he was eligible to be among the leaders and on the leaderboard by the number of games and pitched and so on, he'd be in the top 10 of the least amount of runs supported when he takes the mound. So he finally got a big outpouring of offense tonight, and he's hoping the bullpen can hold it right there. The Reds, however, have come back time and time again. So we'll see how this inning unfolds. This could be a very important inning because you've got, Melville lineup coming up.
Alcantara, who came in for Cozart, at the plate now with 2 on and 2 outs and a runner in.
That tells me Cozart's not feeling 100% still.
Yep.
His leg barking a little bit.
Keep the line moving. If you can get Votto to the plate here, got a chance to close this gap measurably. Down the right field line, foul and out of play. Arizmendi proved to be very valuable off the bench. Good base runner, can play outfield, play infield. Gives the Reds some versatility. Two balls, 2 strikes. The 2 runners lead off. That's another fly ball. It'll be out of play down the right field line.
I think coming out of spring training that Arizmendi Alcantara thought that he'd be getting a lot more playing time than he did. And of course, when the Reds picked up Scooter Gennett, that cut severely into his time playing at second base. Billy Hamilton has played nearly every game in center field, so there's not a whole lot of room to put him in the lineup. We really don't know what he can do yet.
High fastball, waves at it, and that'll do it. The Reds will strand a pair. They get 1 run back and still trail at 9-3. Night of their own, presented by St. Elizabeth Healthcare. Enjoy dinner, throw a pitch from the mound, bag some fly balls in the outfield, meet manager Brian Price, and a whole lot more. Plus, this year you'll get cool red swag, including a shirt and a bag. Sign up today at reds.com/baseball101. Baseball 101's become a very special night at the ballpark. Join us and be a part of a fun night as the Reds and the Friars go at it here at Petco Park. There's Blake Wood who'll take over. We go to the 7th inning. Corey Spangenberg started 2 rallies for the Padres tonight. The first one came back in the 2nd. He was hit by a pitch by Bronson Arroyo. Before the inning was over, 9 came to the plate, and the Padres, who at one point trailed 2-0, had a 7-2 lead, and they have not been headed since. There's a shot through the left side. That's a base hit. Spangenberg on for the 3rd time in his 2nd base hit. Single, double, fly ball out, and hit by a pitch. Alan Cordoba, who reached on a bunt hit in the 2nd, struck out and bounced out. 1 for 3, comes up here in the bottom of 7. Bronson Arroyo started, relieved by Bryce in the 5th inning. Bronson gave up the 9 runs across the plate for the Padres on this night. This game 1 of the 3-game set here in San Diego. Tomorrow, hope you join us with Reds Live at 9:30. The game will follow. Scott Feldman will go for his 6th win against Clayton Richard, the lefty. Amir Garrett due to go Wednesday against Yoli Chacin. And Chris, from all indications, talking to Amir before the game today, and the hand is okay. He took a wicked shot, but he's fine and ready to go.
That's good, because that's the kind of play. I was watching that on TV, George. I had the Los Angeles series off, and you did too. And you know, the reaction for a pitcher is you see a ball coming at you and you put your hand up, and it got on him so quick.
Contra charging, quick flip, and they got him.
That's quick hands there.
Take another look.
You know, the thing that you don't realize with Alcantara is that he is very quick with his feet. You know, middle infielders always have good quick hands and soft hands and so on, but he had to charge hard to get to that ball in time to be able to throw the runner out.
Well, the runner goes to second. There's your out, and here's the catcher, Austin Hedges. Hedges tonight doubled in a pair of runs in the second. That gave the Padres their first lead. Hit a pop up in the middle of the infield that dropped behind the mound with every infielder surrounding it. Everybody called it, nobody caught it, and then singled in the 9th run in the 5th. So a career kind of night for Austin Hedges. You always mention, Chris, that Sammy Ellis was so much of a mentor for you as a coach coming along through the minor leagues and making the transition to the major leagues. As Wood goes to the stretch, runner off second. That misses inside, and Austin Hedges says the same thing. And he was at AAA last year for the Padres. He's had a great experience here at the major league level. And at the minor league level, Rod Barajas was his manager, former major league catcher. Said he taught me about how to think as a catcher, about the importance of my job behind the plate, how to get in the head of each of my pitchers. And Andy Greene says he's translating that to the major league team every day. Hey, beginning Thursday, world's greatest players battle to be crowned America's champion in golf's can't miss major of the year. It's the 117th U.S. Open in Wisconsin. You've been there.
I read a very interesting story about that course coming up, George. Aaron Hills. You know, they've closed that course the entire year, has not opened it all year long in order to prepare for this one tournament. It'll open, of course, after the U.S. Open pulls up stakes and moves on. They will play, the pros that is, somewhere around 7,700 yards, which is, you know, about 500 yards longer than a normal, you know, PGA golf tournament course. Ought to be a lot of fun to watch.
You've been there before, and I know you're hopefully by the end of the year, because the Reds still go back to Milwaukee in September.
Well, we played there a few years ago when they first opened it. It was a really marvelous track, and they've changed it quite a bit in order to get the U.S. Open there. And they've worked very hard to get it in shape. You know, a Wisconsin winter and a cold, wet spring. Very interesting tournament coming up.
There's Matt Caesar pinch hitting in the 9th spot.
And I guess I'll miss my main man, Steve Flesch, who was doing some, you know, commentary for Fox. But now that he's an oldster, he's on the Champions Tour. Congratulations to him for his 5th place, I think 5th or 6th place finish last week.
And every pro golfer you talk to, they love that Champions Tour.
Yeah, you better believe it. I'm glad he's on there. It may mean that he gets a couple of extra sets of clubs he doesn't need.
He'll be getting a phone call pretty soon.
Oh, he's got those before.
Fastball right down the middle to Matt Caesar, of course, coming over from the Chicago Cubs. You know, didn't get a chance to play very much there, chance to play more here, but you go from the penthouse to the outhouse when you talk about battling for a postseason berth. 2-2.
Yeah, the bad news is for Matt Caesar is that, well, you know, we may not be atop the leaderboard at the end of the year, but the good news is you won't need to wear overcoats and down jackets in April. It's not going to be 95 degrees in the middle of July and August. And not a bad place to be here in the off season either.
Pretty valuable pinch hitter, good guy off the bench. 2 balls, 2 strikes, down low. Hard to believe that the pinch hit that he got this past weekend against the Royals was the first pinch hit home run of his career. I mean, he's been around for a while and has come up with some big off the bench hits both during the regular season and the postseason. Full count, 3-2 with the runner off second. That's a call, strike 3. Wood gets out of the inning after a leadoff base hit by Spangenberg. Reds still trail 9-3. Your melodious tones throughout this West Coast trip. 3 in Los Angeles, 2 night games, 1 day game. And let's see if the Reds can put a smile on the scoreboard for Cincinnati fans. They trail at 9-3. Here's Kirby Yates, who will take over as we go to the top of the 8th. Reds have 2 more shots at it, and don't forget we'll have a complete wrap-up of the draft from Brian Giesenslaw and Jeff Piccolo right after the ball game. Joey Votto will lead it off. Adam Duvall will follow, and Suarez follows him. Votto tonight single to left on a 3-2 pitch, fly to left to the warning track, and then single to left again. This one dribbled to the right side. Solarte has it, and there's 1 away. Hey, come on out and join Mo Egger from 700 WLW at the Reds fan cam this Friday at the Holy Grail at the Banks. You want to have a fun night? That's the place to go. And you know that Mo's got some great questions. It's your chance to answer Reds trivia, win some great prizes. You could be part of Reds Live. The party gets started this Friday at 6 at the Holy Grail. You know, remember when you were a major leaguer, your goal was always to someday be interviewed by Joe Nuxhall on the postgame show, right?
And I was. And it was the highlight of my whole career. It was the day after. In fact, I was wearing a Padre uniform in September, and I pitched a shutout against the Reds. And I was on the postgame show with Joe Nuxhall. A friend of mine recorded that for me and gave me that. And if I could find that, it would be one of the most prized bits of memorabilia that I could ever retrieve from my
it's in one of those
short
boxes.
playing days.
It's in one of those boxes, right?
Yeah, it's
somewhere.
in one of those boxes.
That was a highlight for your dad, too.
And you know, I think I got a hit in that game, and he wanted to talk more about the hitting than he did about the pitching.
Because he was a pitcher.
That was a beautiful thing about Nuxie.
He knew what it was like as a pitcher. What do you want to talk about? He was the best. He's still with us, and of course his memory is forever kept alive in Reds country by Kim and Bonnie and the work that they do, the Miracle League, and the tremendous character foundation that they have. No balls, 2 strikes to Adam Duvall. By the way, congratulations to Gene Bennett, his tournament this past weekend down in Portsmouth. Everything was tremendous, and Gino's on the bounce back. He's been hospitalized of late, but feeling better, ornery as ever, and got out to the tournament, which is pretty good. Swing and a miss. That's out number 2 here in the 8th.
Now, Kirby Yates started the season this year by being up for 1 day with the Angels. Then they designated him for assignment. The Padres came in and swooped him up, and here he is pitching late in the ball game. Young man that was born in Lahaina, Hawaii. Beautiful town situated in Kauai. Of course, if you live in San Diego and you have any kinfolk in Hawaii, you're a direct flight away. You're only 5 hours away from being reunited. That's the other good thing about living in San Diego, George. If it gets too cold for you, I mean, if 69 degrees is what it was today at the beach, is just not enough, you can head west.
You can't beat it. Missing inside. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Yates. Of course, there was a time, well, right after, before you got here, the Padres minor AAA team was in Hawaii.
Yeah, and the joke was that when you were, you know, sent out from the major league team to AAA, they would say, "We're sending you up to Hawaii."
That's it. Here's the 1-2 from Yates.
The home record typically for the Hawaii Islanders, that was the name of the team over there, was usually outstanding. because all the visiting teams would come in and all they really wanted to do was go surfing and hang at the beach and everything else. And then by the time they got to the ballpark, they were too tired to play.
Well, they went there and then to Vegas after that. So you had, right. You talk about where do you want to be for AAA?
So they were tired and broke.
That's right. It's going to be interesting to see. And of course, right now the Mets AAA team is in Las Vegas, but the NFL moving to Vegas, and of course there has been a push for many years to bring a major league team to Las Vegas as well. At one point in time, when Bowie Kuhn was the commissioner, said that not on my watch, it'll never happen. Different world now. Full count 3-2.
Well, some would argue that DraftKings and such things, you know, as fantasy baseball is pretty close to gambling as it is.
3-2, 2 away here in the 8th. He got him, and the Reds go 1-2-3. Bottom of 8 we go from San Diego. Padres lead at 9-3.
Looking at tonight's draft.
With the second selection of the 2017 MLB draft, the Cincinnati Reds select Hunter Greene.
Hunter Greene, the high school phenom from Southern California. Many have said a player of his generation.
Playing, Major League Baseball.
Whether he be a shortstop or a flame-throwing right-handed pitcher. And guys, think about last year. If the Reds didn't lose their final game of the season, they would have picked 5th or 6th. They lose their final game, number 162, and they end up picking 2nd. Years down the road, if Hunter Greene turns out to be the phenom that they say he is, could have been one of the biggest losses in Reds history. Think about that. Hunter Greene, Jeter Downs, Stuart Fairchild, and to give you an example of the type of young man that Hunter Greene is, guys, our producer Josh Hall, before you guys talked to him on the air, got him on the phone. First question from Hunter Greene, hey, who did we pick next? Who's the other guys that we got? Team guy.
He has an uncommon presence about him that certainly has been registered by everybody who's come across him, by his high school coaches, by his USA baseball coaches, and by Dick Williams and Walt Jocarty, and you know, Chris Buckley and all of the Reds, Jeff Grappe, the Reds who met with him and spent time with him before the Reds selected him. You know, when you get to that level of the draft, Chris, you just don't pick on the basis of what scouts say. You sit down and have dinner with somebody, meet their family, and see where they come from and who they are. And the Reds were so impressed with him every step of the way. Here's Drew Storen taking over as we go to the bottom of the 8th. Jose Pirela who's had a night for himself, a double and scored a run in the first. He singled in the fourth run in the second, bounced out and walked.
George, also want to congratulate University of Kentucky player Evan White, first baseman, and a good one. He was selected by Seattle, I think, 17th overall in the draft, and the highest ever player taken from Xavier University, Zach Lowther, a left-handed pitcher, junior. He was taken by Baltimore as the 74th pick in the draft. So congratulations to those local guys in Reds country. Moving on.
9-3 Padres, that's wide. Of course, Brandon McKay not selected by the Reds out of Louisville, but his season certainly isn't over. Louisville, of course, on their way to the College World Series in Omaha, and he will in all probability be one of the finalists for the Golden Spikes Award, which will be announced in a couple of weeks. And we talk about Hunter Greene, same story for he. Everybody that you talk to about Brandon McKay, Chris, he's just a special teammate, a young man who's been a heart and soul of that ball club. You've seen him in action, and all of those that have been around him really are looking forward, whether it's as a pitcher or as a hitter, first baseman and a left-handed pitcher. He's got quality stamped all over him.
Yes, he does. Well, you come from a quality program, and where you learn how to do the things the right way. And that means as much about taking care of your teammates as it does taking care of yourself. And I think that's one reason why they've had great success down there at University of Louisville. Dan McDonnell's done a great job. I think he's now going to the World Series for, what, the third time in the last 5 years, something like that. And in fact, I asked Zach Cozart, who played for Dan McDonnell when McDonnell was an assistant coach at Ole Miss. And I said, did you call up your former coach and congratulate him? He says, not worth congratulations yet. He goes, it's so common for him to be in the postseason. I'm waiting until he wins one before I give him a call. So
it's kind of too bad that Louisville had to play Kentucky the way the regionals set up. That it would have been nice if they'd each had a chance to get to Omaha in a different bracket, but that's the way the regionals go. That's fly to the left side and out of play. And you're right. You mentioned, whether it's knot-hole baseball or high school baseball or college baseball, when you watch Louisville play, they play the game the right way. You talked about Perdomo running out a dribbler in front of the plate, busting it down the first baseline. That's the way they play the game. And there's no excuses and no, well, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. That's what Dan McDonnell's done there.
Yeah, and you see that same thing happen in college baseball, George, all over, where those college players, man, they really get after it. And the college coaches really, throughout all D1 and D2 and going all the way down to some other levels as well, I mean, they know that they don't always have the best talent. A lot of times the best player that may commit to you ends up getting drafted, and you never see that player at college. So you've got to take with what you got and mold them into the best players they can possibly be. I've always noticed that college coaches are the most innovative group out there. And one thing that they do for certain, man, they hustle. I love watching them play, and I also really love this year watching the softball players, the NCAA softball tournament play. You talk about emotions and excitement. They really have a great time. That was very entertaining for me to watch.
When we had our Reds Community Fund fundraiser the other day with the 4 young ladies who were honored signing letters of intent to go to college, every one of them stayed up and watched that 17-inning College World Series softball game. That's a bouncer in the bottom of 8, 2 strikeouts and a ground out from Storen. Last roundup for the Reds, they trail 9-3. time for our Honda game summary. The Reds started off pretty good. Scott Schebler bangs this single to center. That plates 2, and the Reds had a 2-0 lead against Luis Perdomo. But that was the end of the Reds' lead. In the second inning, 9 come to the plate. Big hits from Austin Hedges, who doubled in 2 to make it a 3-2 game. Varela drills one to make it a 4-2 game. Cordero homered, and then Solarte followed that with a 421-foot homer. And the Padres are off and running to a 7-2 lead, and they are holding on to a 9-3 lead as we go to the 9th inning. The pitchers of record, Bronson Arroyo, 5 2/3, allowed those 7 runs in the second inning and 9 runs all told. And for Perdomo, 6 2/3, 3 runs, 7 hits before this crowd of 17,000 plus. You just saw Drew Storen, a former Washington National bullpen guy, and here's his former teammate with the Washington Nationals in that bullpen, Craig Stammen.
Yeah, former University of Dayton Flyer, Stammen, who's from North Star, Ohio. If you don't know where that is the very western part of central Ohio. About as far west as you can get. He was a starter when he first came up to the major leagues. Stammen started 19 or 20 games each of the first 2 seasons for the Washington Nationals. And Brian Price wants to know if this ball may have gotten him or not.
The other thought it got some uniform. Brian Price did too, and he's going to challenge it.
Hey, while we're looking at umpires and talking about this or not, I don't know whether it does or not, but want to wish happy 87th birthday to an umpire that you would always hear before you would see him.
Strike 1.
Dutch Rennert. Boy, what a joy he was to be around. You know, he was the guy, and if you're old enough to remember Dutch Rennert, he would turn to first base when he'd call a strike, and he would let it loose, just like you said, George. Strike 1! And then the deeper into the count you got, the louder and longer he'd hold it. So if it was ever strike 3, he would hold that and ring you up, and you would be so embarrassed. I got to the point whenever I got the pitch and he was behind the plate, I stepped to the plate and I look at Dutch and say, Dutch, I'm hacking here because the last thing you're going to do is ring me up on strike 3. So we wish him happy number 87, Dutch Rennert.
True legend.
Teddy Barrett is the crew chief. That's Chad Whitson, the home plate umpire. Here we go. Drama unfolding. And Ted said, no, missed him by that much. That does not make Brian Price feel any happier when he gave him about 3 inches apart with his finger and thumb.
So Schebler back to the plate, a dribbler out in front of home plate. Hedges has it, and they'll get the out at first. Schebler singled in those 2 runs on a bullet to center field in the first, flied to the warning track and right, and then singled his last time up before this ground out. So a 2-for-4 night for Scott Schebler. And here's Jose Peraza. Game 2 of the series tomorrow. Reds live underway at 9:30. Scott Feldman will go for his 6th win. He comes in 5-4, an ERA of just over 4 against Clayton Richard. Day game on Wednesday, with Reds live at 3 o'clock, and the game will follow our Reds live pregame show. Peraza bloops this one into center, long run, and it is caught. Great play by Cordero. Don't forget, you can get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before every game, tomorrow included, on Fox Sports Ohio, with all the info you need for that game. It's all sponsored by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Feldman against Richard. That's scheduled for tomorrow. Your game 2 matchup. The Reds complete their West Coast swing with the final 2 games here in San Diego. An off day on Thursday, and then the Dodgers come to Cincinnati. There's a bullet down the right field line. It'll go into the corner, rounding first, going to second is Barnhart, and he's going to be in there. So Tucker turns a single deep into the corner into a 2-base hit. So Barnhart gets his first hit of the night.
Tucker's going for 2 no matter what right here, but the scouting report we had heard about the Padre right fielder is that he has very strong arm, Hunter Renfroe, and that ball just a little bit offline. Tucker slides in there with a 2-out double to right field.
Here's Patrick Kivlahan, who will pitch hit in the pitcher spot. The news stories of the night that Brian Giesenslaw and Jeff Piccoro fill you in on Reds Live postgame. Scooter Gennett, the National League Player of the Week after his 4-home-run performance, and the big draft news. Hunter Greene selected by the Reds as the number 2 player in the draft. Had a chance to talk to him earlier tonight live on the air, and as impressive as you expected him to be, huh, Chris? He was a very poised young man.
He certainly was.
2 balls, no strikes. And congratulations to the Golden State Warriors, 129-120 over the Cleveland Cavaliers, NBA champions.
Yeah, those 2 teams will probably hook up again next year about this time. Maybe the Cavs will get them then.
We'll see what LeBron can do to reload. They certainly are the 2 best teams in the NBA right now. Brian Price searching for answers after 3 straight losses in Los Angeles and on the threshold of a 4th straight loss here. I'd love to close out this road trip with a couple of wins and head home. Two. That'll do it. Kivlahan strikes out. And Austin Hedges will congratulate his battery mate as the Padres on this night came up with a 7-run second inning on the way to a 9-3 win over the Reds in game 1 of the series. A whole lot more to talk about. We'll be back with more from Petco Park after these messages.
Boy, Baño!